Hello, my name is Doug Leisure, and I wanted to record this video to show you how to install my donation software, the 2025 version of my donation software. And I'm going to focus this one on installation for Windows PC. I will try to do a follow-up video soon for the Macintosh, but I want to focus this one on the PC. Okay, so if you're watching this is probably because you have already seen the demonstration of my software and requested a copy, and I will respond to your email request for a copy by sending it back to you via email. So this is a good sample of what that email would look like. And within the email, it depends on your which email system you use, of course, how that specifically would look. I'm doing Gmail. So as I go down through here, eventually at the bottom we'll see the attached Excel file. There's also for us PC users, don't worry about it. It's a Macintosh script, but since I don't know if you're doing Mac or PC, when I send it to you, I include the Mac script. We also then shows up here. These are links to some videos that I have in here to help you out. But what you want to do is you want to come to the Excel file. Do not open it here. If you just double click on it, Gmail is going to open it and actually convert it to a Google Sheets. That's not what we want. We want to download it or extract it out of the email so that we have it as an Excel file, and we can then work with it. Okay, so one of the things that I think you want to do, I'm just going to bounce over here real quick. You want to create a folder for the donation file, the Excel file, and that's also ultimately where you will download the user guide into there as well. So I just went to in my case, my G drive, just a spot on one of the local disks. Created a folder, First Baptist Church Donations. That's the name of the folder. And so I want to put my download the Excel file and drop it in here. So let's go ahead and do that. So again, don't double click on it to open it, which would open it in Google Sheets. Instead, just find the option then to download it. So I'm going to do that. And in my browser, I get the option to save it, and the save as will give me the option to tell it where I want to save it. So let's choose that one. Okay, so in this case we're going to go to the G drive, to the First Baptist Church Donations. I'm going to leave the file name as it was during the download. We will change the file name later. Okay, so basically at this point I'm done with my email, other than in the email I will give you a link that will allow you to download the user guide. Let me just grab a copy of that real quick so you can take a look at it. So this is a Microsoft Word document. It's 140 pages. I've tried to be very, very robust at giving you the information you need for installing and for using the software. So lots and lots of stuff in there. And we'll visit that again here in just a quick second. But first, let's go to our folder. Okay, so in the PC world, this is again this video is focused on installation for the PC. In the PC world, most often, I don't know why it doesn't happen every time, but Microsoft Windows is able to recognize when a file like this has been downloaded from an email, from the internet. Sometimes even I see it from a jump drive, and it tries to protect you from from those files from other places. It wants to protect you and try to keep you safe. It's a good thing, but what we need to do is we just simply want to right click on the file and go to the properties. And here it is. Under properties down at the bottom, this is the general, down at the bottom is this extra security item. And it says basically, hey, this file came from another computer. And so we're blocking it to try to help protect you. So it's not a bad thing, but in order to use my software, we do need to unblock it. So just put a check mark there on the unblock and then the OK. And now we are ready to begin using it, so it's no longer blocked. Now I am going to suggest that one of the first things you want to do when you get it, this is just kind of my generic name, but I'm going to suggest that you want to rename it. So let's do First Baptist Church donations. Okay, so First Baptist Church donations. So that is just simply the new name, and now I am ready to open it. Now when I open this, I know it's going to work just fine, but let's talk about say possible problem. I showed you the one with the security. When for some people, when they open this for the first time, rather than fully opening, they run into what's called a compile error. So let me just show you what that would look like and explain the problem. So as the Excel file is opening, certain things are happening in the background, and one of the things gets stopped or blocked when it runs into this compile error, and it says I can't find the project or library. So let me just explain it real quick, and then I can show you how you would get around that. Again, I'm looking at my user guide. When you look at the user guide, there's a large section on the installation for PCs, and so we talk about various things there, including this particular error, as well as how to fix it in the user guide. So basically, when you get what's happening in the background, just so you understand, is my 2025 version of the software has the option for you to send your donor receipts at the end of the year, to send them through your email system. Now, in order to do that, it must use Microsoft Outlook. That's not a bad thing. That's just the mechanism that we use for sending the emails, Microsoft Outlook. Now, if you installed all of Office when you did your Excel installation, then it should have installed Microsoft Outlook along with the rest of the Office components. If you installed Excel only, then you're going to be missing Microsoft Outlook. And so when it gets to the point where it wants to be able to use the Microsoft Outlook, that's the library that it's referring to here. It just simply can't find it, and you get this error. And so what you need to do is just simply click the OK a bunch of times till it goes away, and then we can go through and fix it. Now, I show you some instructions here for opening up that portion of Excel that allows us to get down deep into the bowels of Excel. Not really the Excel, not the bowels of Excel, but the VBA macro language, where we do a lot of the work in the donation software. How you can get there and start to edit the VBA macro and affect whether or not it's going to use Microsoft Outlook, how I can turn that off. If you get this error when you first open it, it's actually going to dump you into Microsoft VBA, the macro editor. You'll actually be right there. And so if that's the case, then we just simply need to stop the macro from running. And so sorry, I guess I don't actually have that screenshot. Okay, I will have to add that to my documentation. Sorry, let's do that. But I'll show you what it is real quick. Okay, so I'm just going to open up the macro editor, and it says Microsoft Visual Basic for Applications. That's what the VBA stands for. And when you get the error message, it'll actually have behind here have a bunch of code. But what you really want to do is just simply click this little square, the blue square, and that just stops everything from running. So just stop everything from running, and then you can get to see the rest of this. So so in that same screen, we click on the word on the menu item tools, and you click on the project properties. That'll pop open this little dialog box. Use email. Now, when you first look at it, it's going to say use email equals 1, which is true. By default, we're wanting to use email. And all you're going to do is just simply delete the 1 and put in a 0. So that it now is going to be email equals 0, meaning do not use the email part of the software. Then hit the OK. The next thing equally is easy. Click on the tools again. Click on references. And in here what you'll see is the things that I'm using for all of the code behind my donation software. But what's happening is this Outlook is missing, and that's the heart of the error. Not a big deal. Just remove the check mark and click OK, and then you can close down that screen, the VBA Visual Basic for Application screen. Shut that down. Then you will click on the Save button to save the Excel file, and then close it. We need to make these changes, close it, and then open it back up again, and it'll be just fine. Okay, when you open it back up again, it will behave as this is going to. So now that you fixed it, now it's going to open up. Okay, it's going to open up like this. You're going to get this little security warning, and you want to enable content. So click on this. The good news in the PC world, this is a one-time thing. Once you enable the content once, Microsoft will remember that, the Windows will remember that, and you'll know how to click this enable content afterwards. But just do it the first time. Okay, now it's going to pop up and say, hey, I recognize that this is the first time you've opened the donation software. So I need you to input or enter all of your donors, modify the parameters. That's how we adjust how the software works, and basically customize it for your church. And then when you're done doing that, use the donation software menu item called Adjust Tabs from the parameters. And I'll show you all that in a second. But go ahead and just click the OK button. It's going to ask what is the date of your donation. Well, we're not making donations right now. We're just trying to get it all set up. So just hit the cancel button. All right, and now we're able to go in and enter our donors. Now what you'll find on the donors tab, that's where we do that, is that there are some samples in here already. So just replace all of this with your list of donors. For some churches that use the envelope systems, they'll already have envelope numbers assigned to their various donors. If you don't have donor numbers, not a big deal. Just basically kind of make them up. But we do need a unique donor number for every one of your donors. Last thing I wanted to show while we're talking about donors, just very quickly. Let's say we're going to do donor number 4. Dylan Snow. We have a spot here for the address, city, state, and zip, and the email address. So one of the things about the 2025 version of my donation software, when it comes to donors, is we have actually some options. And this is basically print a receipt. What that means is at the end of the year, when we're ready to make receipts for our donors, their year-end receipts, some people don't want them. So you can say Dylan does not want a receipt. But what I wanted to show you is this yes no. We can also make a PDF file. We can, again, if you haven't disabled it, we can actually email the receipt to the person if we have a valid email address for them. But this little thing about yes, no, this is a drop down. And so as you add your donors, you will want to copy as you make additional donors, this yes no thing needs to be copied down. And there's two ways to do that. You can just right click and say copy, and then drag down over the same column for all of your donors, and then do a paste, a normal paste. That's one way to do it. The other option, it's a quick thing in Excel, is they give us this little green square dot right there down at the bottom right. When you put your cursor over top of it, it turns into this funny little plus sign. And what that means is if you click and drag that dot, it's copying the contents of this particular cell down to whatever rows you copy it to. So I'm going to grab that and drag down, and when I let go, it copies that down. So all of these are now the word yes, but more importantly, they are the drop down list. Okay, and so we can say, so let's say we want to say that the loose offering, well, there's nobody to give a receipt to, so we don't want to print that. And then yes, we want Dylan's receipt to be printed. Or we could, if we had a valid email address, then we could say send Dylan's year-end receipt using the email system. Again, Microsoft Outlook is what it would use to do that. So I just wanted to show you real quick, as you're entering your donors, it's important that you copy this little drop-down yes/no PDF or email. You need to copy it down to all of your other donors. Okay, once you've entered all of your list of donors and assigned their donor numbers, then we can move on to do the parameters. A quick little thing here. So adding their address is very helpful. The software doesn't care, but it's just something helpful for you. I know at our church we use this quite a bit at the end of the year. If we try to pass out the receipts to all of our donors in January, but as we're getting towards the end of the January, if we haven't, some people aren't on site, some people just haven't been in church for a while, but we want to get their receipt to them, so we'll use their address and just write it on an envelope and mail it to them. The other small thing about the donor list is sometimes people churches like to put additional information in here, so you can add your own columns to this. So maybe you want to put in a telephone number. So you can just simply add additional columns to this. I would say you probably want to borrow, if you know anything about Excel, use the Format Painter to borrow the same format as these other headers. It just makes it look a little bit nicer. But you can add your own columns so you can track other information for your donors in addition to the ones that I give you. So just a fun little fact that you can extend this and make the donor list work for other things within your church organization or religious organization, in addition to just simply using it for my donation software's purpose. Okay, so you put in your donors, and the other thing it said is go to the parameters. So let's talk about that very quickly. So we come over to the parameters tab, and as I mentioned once, I'll say it again, this is where you can adjust or customize how the software works so that you can make it work the way you need to in your particular church or religious organization. Okay, so one of the things we have is what year are we taking our donations? So this is February of 2025, so I would use 2025 as the year. Okay, and you can see we can choose different years off the list. The next part, hopefully the majority of you don't have to worry about it, but the software does have the option to support not just a calendar year, January through December, but a fiscal year. If you need that, dig into the user guide and see how to set up the fiscal year definition, and then as you move through the software, you get to decide, is this part of the software going to use a calendar year or a fiscal year? So we don't have to. It's not fiscal year everywhere or calendar year everywhere. You get to actually pick and choose. Okay, let's not worry about that. Like I say, because the majority of churches don't do fiscal years, but if you need it, it's available. Especially for some of the nonprofits that are using my software might have a fiscal year definition, so they would want to set that up. All right, the next important thing is what language do you want to use it in? When I ship it to you, it'll have the English as well as a Spanish translation. If you should happen to need it, I do have translations already available for Portuguese, Burmese, Japanese, French, Chinese, Korean, and Hindi. Those are already available, and I can send those to you if you need them. Okay, why is that important? You would want to choose your language. So if you're a Spanish-speaking church, and you might want to switch it to Spanish. As soon as you do, then all of the information, the parameters are all going to be presented to you in Spanish. And then as you're making some different choices, the choices in the drop-down list are also presented to you now in Spanish. So you definitely want to choose your language first. And just in case you didn't see it, you can do English, you can do Spanish, or you can actually do a dual language. All right, so now we're actually seeing now a mixture of the English and the Spanish. So this would be very helpful if you have that need where your donation counters are perhaps some of them speak Spanish only, some speak English only. You actually have an option to display both. And then again, your drop downs will be in the dual language. So you always want to do the language first, set that up, and we're going to jump back to English just because that's going to be a whole lot easier for me to explain to you than the other parameters. So basically, you want to work your way down from top to bottom, setting up all of the different parameters. Now, I do in my user guide, I do give you a very robust list, not robust, I give you a list of every parameter and their definitions. So as we come down through here, there's a very lengthy section here where we go through each of the parameters one at a time, explaining what they mean and how to use them. In some cases, it's more than just a description. You need some additional information. So I go through in here and give you additional information where needed about the various parameters and how to use it. So please refer to the user guide while you're doing this. Let's set up some. I'm not going to go through all of the parameters in this particular video. I'll make a separate video where we go through each of them, but let's just talk about the important ones. So I talked about the language. That is very important that you do that, and do that first. The next big important thing will be when you're using the software, the majority of churches are using it just to record their donations and make their receipts at the end of the year. And so that functionality is the donations only. Okay, so if you're only going to use it for recording the donations and the year-end receipts, set this parameter to denote to donations only. There are some of the churches though that are wanting to not only track their donations, but use this software to also track their expenses, to be able to create an income versus expense type of a report, to track the balances of their different bank savings, credit card accounts. So that kind of functionality is the donations and expenses. All right, so for this installation piece, I'm going to go ahead and set it to donations only. Okay, another very important thing is you want to set up the name and the address of your church. So we are the First Baptist Church, and 100 Main Street. Yes, I'm just making this up, of course. Main Street in Georgia, in Atlanta, Georgia. I don't know what I don't know what the zip code is there, but we'll make something up. Okay, so that's a pretty important thing, that you set up the name and address of the church. The next thing, I just wanted to let you know that the parameters are grouped together. So that the thing at the top, that's kind of like the global parameters that affect everything, and then we get into parameters related specifically to the donation entry. So that affects everything we do on this first tab. When you're entering donations for, let's say, for any given Sunday, by donor, whether they gave you a cash amount, a check, or electronic online type of a donation, and then what categories you want the donation split across. So it has to do with all the things related to this weekly donation entry that you're doing. Okay, so that's everything here related to the donation entry, and then we start on another section for things related to the year-end receipts. Then we have another section for the reporting. There is an option in here to each month, at the end of the month, make a report that we can share with leadership that shows us how we're progressing as we move through the year. So the January totals, the February totals, that kind of a thing. And then if you are using it for tracking the expenses and the balances, there's a section related to that, and then the donation category. So let's work our way down through here. And I'm not in this video. I'm not gonna go into a lot of detail on these because I'll do this separately. But it's just the idea that as you're moving your way down through here, you'll see that a lot of the parameters use this drop-down capability. So when I print the detail of my donation at the end of each week, do I want that to be printed portrait? That's how the paper comes out, or landscape, where it's sideways. So a lot of the things are done using this drop-down list. You'll see that with a lot of the yeses and the nos, right? And then there are other things. So when I print the details, how many copies do I want to print? Do I want one for me and one for I'm one of the people that counts the donations. I need a copy, but does my treasurer need a copy? Do I need to make a copy for other people? So in that case, if you want 3 copies, you just put in the value 3. Okay, so there is that mixture of things where you type. Related to the donations, there's something that I think is kind of important, and that is how many rows do you need. So come back here. So during any given week, as I'm entering donations, how many different transaction rows or records do you think I'm going to need? How many people are going to donate? How many envelopes do I have? So by default, it's set to 20. That's how many rows you have. For some, that's plenty. For other churches, they might end up with 40 or 50 each week. So the parameter that you use to affect that is just right here. By default, how many rows do you want in the entry tab? If 20 isn't enough, change it to 25 or 35 or 40. Okay. And then the next part says, and even then, if I start to run out, and it's time to insert additional, I need to insert additional rows because I'm running out, how many rows are going to be inserted every time you ask for additional rows? And so up here, I've given you a menu. These are all the options related to controlling my software. And this is the item right here: insert entry rows. So this is, if I start to run out, I can insert additional rows, and it'll just add more yellow rows at the bottom. And that's this parameter. When I ask for that, it's going to insert 10 additional rows. All right. So these are the kinds of things you want to pay attention to. A lot of things related to receipts, including a footer on the receipt. The receipt is looks kind of like this. So a header at the top that has a church name, address, the amount of donations donated by this particular person with the monthly totals, and at the bottom is a receipt footer. So these are where you can customize the words that are showing up here that'll go on every receipt, right? So my generic ABC church, now this is the First Baptist Church. Okay, so you can customize the receipts. Here's all the things related. If you're going to use the automatically email receipts, then this is where you can set up the email subject and the body of the email, and even an email address to test everything and make sure the email system's working. Same thing down here on the reports. So this is what a monthly report would look like, where we can see by month the total amounts that have come in, and there's a small footer here where you can customize that. Okay, and then again, some things related to the expenses and balances. I'm not going to dive into that in full detail right now, but let's get to a couple more things that are very, very, very important, and that would be donation categories. So within definitely within the church environment, when somebody donates, we typically give them the option to donate to different funds, different categories. I'm using that category and fund word kind of interchangeably. So so a lot of times we have a general fund, something that we use for all of the standard common general expenses. So some people will call that general fund, or they might call it general expenses, or maybe they just use the word general. I've also seen some churches call that tithes or tithes and offerings, that kind of an idea. But we want to name the category. A lot of times churches have a missions fund, so they receive donations that they send to specific missionaries. Sometimes they will have a building fund, okay, or sometimes a benevolence, so to help members of the church or their community. So just again, you should already know within your organization or church what your categories are. Just list those here, and then the important thing is to tell the donation software how many categories you want to use. Okay. Now, if you are tracking expenses and balances, then you do need to come down here and provide the name of your different bank, savings accounts, credit card accounts, and then tell the software how many of those you're using. So by default, it'll have the checking account, and so you might want, if you have one, also include the savings account. And if you have a credit card account, then you might want to enter that as well. So whatever your different accounts are that you want to track, and then how many of those three, how many of those accounts you're going to track, and this will help track the balance of each of these different accounts. Okay, I know it's been a while since I popped it open, but it said make the changes to your parameters, and then run the from my menu, run the thing called adjust the tabs from parameters. I'm just about ready to do that, but we want to talk about one last thing if you are not in the United States. And as I've given this software out over the last 10 years, I've given it to more than 30. I've given it to churches in more than 30 different countries. So that's why we have the different translations. But that also brings up a need to a lot of times adjust the currency, and you would do that right here. So basically, what are the different coins that you have? The paper dollars. What how many different varieties do you have? What are the names of them, and what are their valuation? Um, so hang on, I have some samples here. Let me just drag this over so you can take a look at some samples of setting up the currencies in different areas. So so in Canada, you would replace this with the nickels, dimes, quarters, loonies, and toonies, fives, tens, 20s, 50s, 100s, and then the valuations, right? So the loonies worth $1, toonies worth $2. It's just that kind of idea. It's a fairly simple thing. If you're in Brazil, then you would do your centavos or the reals. Mexico, centavos and pesos. Dominican Republic, the peso coin and the pesos, and the appropriate valuation. Okay, so that gives you the idea of the different samples from a variety of countries, but you can see how you set that up. Okay, and once you've done that, then again we are going to run the adjust the tabs from parameters. So just click on that menu item, and it's going to go through, and basically what it's doing behind the scenes, it's touching every one of these different tabs, and it is hiding or unhiding different rows or columns and making the adjustments that it needs to set up the software to match the various parameters that you've set up. Okay, I'm going to come back here one more time and just talk about one other small thing related to modifying parameters. You'll do this once when you install the software. You might decide later on that you want to come back and make adjustments to the various parameters. Actually most of the parameters, when you adjust them here on the screen, when you adjust the parameter, it will adjust itself immediately on every tab as necessary. No extra work is done other than to make the adjustment here. In fact, if we come back here and look at a report, we can see that the report is now reporting on year 2026, what I just selected in the parameters. So many of the parameters, you just make the changes you need there and you're done. But there are some parameters where when you make a change to that particular parameter, we need to run this adjust tabs again. And so what I've done is I've used this pinkish color on various parameters. And what that means is just simply if you adjust this parameter, then you do need to run adjust tabs from a parameter. You need to run this menu item again and let it adjust, make the adjustments on all the different tabs based on that particular change. Okay, so again, later on in life, as you make changes to the parameters, if they're one of these pinkish colored, then just run this again, the adjust tabs from parameters. Okay, I think we're getting down to the end of this. I did want to yes. Okay, let's just very briefly talk about the currency and where that comes into play. Okay, and that's this part right down here. So so let's say we're doing a donation um, for um, for a particular Sunday, and um, we have our sample donor number one gave us $100 and asked us to put 50 in general and 50 in missions. Okay, so that's a cash donation. And then we had our our loose offering, and that was $45, and we put that in general. And then we had, well, that's enough. That's enough to explain what's important here. Um, Down below, actually, I'm going to do one more. Let's do person number two, and I'm going to actually use this fun little thing here, look up donor, and we're going to look up sample donor number two. We're going to look up by name. That's what this does, and it'll just search the donor list and put in the donor's number, but it allows us to look up by name. It's kind of a fun little thing. But this particular donor um, gave us a check for $50, and they wanted that to be $25 in general and 25 in missions. Okay, so basically we have at the end of our donation, when we're all done, we have recorded donations that came in through cash and that came in through the check. And then what we want to do is we want to make sure that our entry from above balances or matches what we have down below, where we can count the number of nickels, dimes, quarters, the number of $5 bills, $10 bills. We can count the quantity of those and let the software validate that this pile of cash does indeed match everything that we entered above. And that's what we're doing down here in this little part here, where we just simply count up how many $1 bills do we have, how many $5 bills do we have, how many $10 bills do we have, how many $20 bills do we have. We just count them, and what it's doing is it's a cross check, making sure that what we entered and what we have in this pile of cash and coins, that these things match, that they balance each other. And so as we were going down through there, you notice that over here it was marked in red because we're out of balance. And once we put in the number of bills that we have, and everything comes back and everything matches, it's back in balance, and the red goes away. So now our cash is in balance. And down here we have a very similar thing where we put in the amounts of the different checks. It's not the check number. This is just the amount. So we look in. We have a check for $50. We enter that, and again, it's just doing that mathematical comparison to make sure that everything that was entered in our check column, that all of that does indeed match with our balancing effort here at the bottom. And this was the part that is unique to your particular currency in the country that you live in. So that's why it's important for you to set that up in the parameters. Okay, let me undo this. Because this is just me showing that to you. But yeah, once you're done making all of your adjustments to the parameters, run the adjust tabs from parameters. It'll leave you back here on the entry screen. And at this point, we are ready to just simply save the changes we made. Okay, so this is the standard Excel save button. So now we've saved all of our changes, and we can shut this down. We can close it down, because now we're just simply done with the installation, and we are ready then to wait for our first donation. Okay, and then on Sunday when you get your donations, you're ready to open this back up again. And the first thing it's going to do when it opens, it's going to prompt you for the, it's going to prompt you then for the donation date. And so you would just change that to the, it'll pop up whatever today's date is, and if it's not the date of your donation, just adjust that and click the OK. Sorry, this when I opened it, it popped up on my other screen, so you didn't get a chance to see it, but it'll just pop up here. When you open it, it'll ask for the donation date. Enter the date, hit the OK. The date will be entered automatically up here in this cell, and then you're ready to do your donations by entering the donor number, the cash or check amount, and the distribution into the different categories. Okay, that is what I wanted to cover in this video. Hopefully that will be helpful. And as I said, I'll try to make a separate video specific to installation on a Macintosh, and then another follow-up video where we go through in detail all of these parameters. And there are a lot of them. I've given you almost 100 different parameters, so you can customize the software to work the way you need to. Okay, I will look forward to seeing you in the next video.